Sure. Okay, we'll start our class. If somebody is recording, please start recording. So we start with the good morning quote. Lovely days don't come to you. You should walk to them. Okay? Nothing comes to us. We have to go to them. And today's inspirational quote is by Swindoll. Life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you react to it. Actually, what happens to people is mostly common, right, to everybody. But each people react in a different way based on that. Some people are happy, some people are unhappy, some people are quiet or something like that. It is because the way we react. Okay, so 90% of the things depends on how you react to it. And today is the birthday of a great philosopher, Voltaire. He is a great writer, great philosopher, and he is an enlightenment writer, historian, and philosopher. And he was a versatile and prolific writer, producing works in almost every literary form, including plays, poems, novels, essays, histories, and scientific expositions. He wrote more than 20,000 letters and 2,000 books and pamphlets. He was one of the first authors to become renowned and commercially successful internationally. He says, don't think money does everything, or you are going to end up doing everything for money. Okay, that's what actually nowadays is happening. People think everything is behind money. So we say somebody is successful because he is rich, right? Richness will not show you the real success that you achieve, right? The scale for success is happiness, and nobody else can scale your happiness. Only you knows, right? And he also says God gave us the gift of life. It is up to us to give ourselves the gift of living well. That's what. And he has written a fantastic book, a small book. It's a very good one. And if you come across, you don't leave it. Candide, Candide. It's a fantastic novel. And it's completely adventurous, most thrilling, full of suspense, full of twists, and very great novel, right? So try to, it is available in the net. Okay, so we'll have today the lecture 37 on vapor power cycles. Actually, we have already discussed, but we will have a revision of that. And so when we see the gas turbine and the steam turbine, both are turbo machines, and both run the power plants, and both run on cycles. This is a Brayton cycle. This is a Rankine cycle. And both will have four processes, as I told. Okay, compression, heat addition, expansion, and heat rejection. So this compression is isentropic here, and this is also same. And heat addition, isobaric. So this is also same. Expansion, isentropic, and here also it is same. And heat rejection, isobaric, and this is also same, right? All four processes are similar processes, but still we call them as different cycles because it runs in single phase, it runs in two phase. That is the only difference. So you will see the phase diagram in Rankine cycle. You don't see that in Brayton cycle. It is completely, we assume the gas is perfect gas, mostly, or real gas also, or ideal gas, I can say ideal gas, because sometimes Cp and Cv variations also we consider. Okay, so this is the main thing between the Brayton cycle and Rankine cycle. And always we try to have a power cycle, because both are power cycles only. I want to have Carnot cycle. So when you have TS diagram with phase line, and if I want to have Carnot cycle, so what I can think of is a cycle like this. Okay, this is pumping, and this is heat addition. And I can say time. There is the turbine and the QL. Okay, so this is the way I can assume a Carnot cycle, which is a clockwise cycle within the phase diagram. So when you have seen that if people tried, so we have discussed already that there are some practical problems. So one is the pump is to work in two phase. Okay, and also the volume, because most of it is vapor, and it needs lot of compressor work. Okay, large compressor work. Okay, it's we cannot say the pump or compressor because it is a two-phase one, and because it occupies large volume, so it will be of a large size and large WC will be there. And another thing is this point. Okay, so point 4, that is wetness at the turbine exit. So I should not have so much wetness here, because during the expansion there will be condensation and droplets form, and it erodes the blades. So I cannot have this way. But still people may think of Carnot cycle in a different way. So suppose if I assume the Carnot cycle going like this, so that this problem of these 2 points will not be there. There will not be two phase there, only a single phase. Okay, so you can think of a cycle this way also. So again, W3, WT, QH, and the QL. So here there will be other problems will be there. Okay, again, this is completely is going very high compression ratios.
More heat rejection.
Yeah, high compression ratios. Okay, heat rejection, more heat addition, rejection will be there. Okay, this is not the main problem. The main problem is heat addition, isothermal heat addition. If it is going out, it is isothermal heat addition, which we know that it is very slow and it's not practical. Okay, so these are the main restrictions for the Carnot cycle. So because of that, we go for what is called as Rankine cycle. So here, so when you think of Carnot cycle like this first, so I want to make this single phase, so you can condense it up to here. So your point 1 shifts to this point, and here there will be compression. So if I draw a constant pressure line like this, so this is the compression, which the work is very much negligible compared to the previous one. So this is one thing happens. And on the turbine side, we try to shift this side, so that first if I have superheat like this, I can reduce this wetness. Okay, so up to 10% or 5 to 10% of wetness is allowed. Okay, because it starts condensing only at the end of the expansion, so it will not damage much because it is very fast and it goes out. Okay, so this is the way we have what is called as Rankine cycle. So then if you see the schematic, boiler, pump, turbine, and so, okay. So this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4, and this is clockwise, and let me see the cycle. Okay, so here I have to write WP and QH, WT, and QL, and here there will be generator also. Okay, so this is the way it will be, and so this is WP, this is QH, this is WT, and this is QL. So as we already discussed, delta Q is equal to dH plus delta W, and in each process either there is delta Q or delta W, only one of them will be there. So everything is change in enthalpy only. So WP if you take, that is H2 minus H1, and QH if I take, H3 minus H2, and WT is 3 minus H4, and QL H4 minus H1, and W net is equal to, you can write either WT minus WC, this is also equal to WP I will write, and QH minus QL. You can see that both will be same, right? You will get quantitatively same thing, and the efficiency when we get, so this is net work by heat supplied, so that is QH minus QL by QH, or 1 minus QL by QH. So like this, we solve the problem. So when we solve the problem, so what I want is, I want enthalpies at all the 4 points, that's all. So usually the data is, I will be given the boiler pressure, and I will be given the condenser pressure. And the turbine inlet condition will be given. It can be saturated or it can be superheated like this. So this is the data given, okay, PB, which is equal to P2, also equal to P3. P condenser, which is equal to P1, also equal to P4, and you will be given T3. Okay, these are the data given, and you have to solve the problem. And only thing is, you have to use the steam tables. Okay, so H1 I want first. H1 is equal to, because it is on the saturated liquid line, it is HF at P1. Okay, so when you go to the saturated tables, some more things also I will see in the saturated tables. At P1, you see H1 and also V1, and also note down HF, HFG, SF, and SFG, because I write this as 4. Okay, because P1 equal to P4, I will take all those 6 readings at that particular pressure. Okay, immediately if you write, the time can be saved. Okay, and I want H2. So W pump is equal to V1 into VDP, right? V1 into P2 minus P1. So P2 is data, P1 is data, V1 is already obtained here. So this gives me WP. And this is also equal to H2 minus H1. So H2 is equal to H1 plus WP. Okay, that gives you H2. Then H3, because I know both pressure and temperature, I can find out what is H3. H3 at P2 and T3. And here itself, I can find out what is S3 also. Okay, I have to find out S4. So for S4, because S3 is equal to S4, so I know pressure and entropy. So I have to find out what is H4. So first I have to check whether it is saturated or superheated. Okay, so from this, I have to see saturated or superheated. So how to see? You see SG of at P condenser, at this pressure, you find out what is Sg. If S4 is greater than Sg, that is superheated. If it is S4 less than Sg, it is saturated. Okay, if it is less than, that is, it is this side, it is not that side. Okay, so we have to find out. Usually it will be saturated only. So you have to find out the dryness fraction. If it is superheated, just at this pressure, you check the pressure table, that is P1 table, and you see where this entropy falls. It falls between two temperatures. So at what is the temperature, and find out enthalpy at that particular temperature. Okay, if it is saturated, first you have to find out X4. X4 is equal to S4 minus SF4 SFG4. Okay, so already SF and SFG are there, and similarly H4 is equal to HF4 plus X4 HFG4. Okay, so this gives you H4. So H1 is there, H2 is there, H3 is there, H4 is there. So once you have all, you can just use the formulae that are given in the previous one. Yeah, so all these formulae we have. So all these formulae we have to use and find out the efficiency. Okay, this is the way we have to do. And just we'll see one problem. Okay, the problem 1, determine the efficiency of a Rankine cycle using steam as the working fluid in which the condensed pressure is 10 kilopascals, the boiler pressure is 2 megapascals, the steam leaves the boiler as saturated vapor. Okay, so it is saturated vapor it is leaving, and 10 kilopascal and 2 megapascal are given. Okay, so exit condition is also given clearly. So P1 is equal to 10 kilopascals, P2 is equal to 2 megapascals, and X3 is equal to 1.0. It is like this. Okay, so this is 10 kilopascals, and this is 2 megapascals. Okay, this is the data. This is sufficient, right? So I can go to the saturated tables and so we have to go to page number 890 here in this Angel book. So it is pressure table, saturated water pressure table. So you can see pressure at 10 kilopascals. What are all the things, right? And you can see here H1, HF or H1 is 191.8 and V1 is 0.00101. And also I have to note down HFG, SF and SFG, right? So HFG is 2392.1 and SF is 0.6492 and SFG is 7.4996. So all these things I have to note down. Okay. So once I know that, I know H1 and H2 you have to, because V1 is there, V1 into P2 minus P1. Okay, just okay, so at P1 equal to 10 kilopascal, H1 is equal to some 191.8 and V1 is equal to 0.00101 and so if I note down some values, okay. So I have to note down the other things. Then H2 is equal to V1 into P2 minus P1. That is 0.00101 into kilopascals. I have to put 2000 minus 10. Okay, so you will get some 2 kilojoules per kg. So this is kilojoule per kg. So H2 is equal to
plus H1
plus X1.
plus H1, H2 minus
H2 is
H1 is
equal to H1 plus.
Yeah, this is okay. Okay, this is WP, right? This is WP. H2 is equal to H1 plus WP, that is 191.8 plus 2, that is 193.8 kilojoule per kg. Okay, so this is the way. And then you have to go for H3. H3, you have to see the same tables, saturated tables only. 2 megapascals, I have to find out Hg. Okay, so I'll tab. Okay, so here 2 megapascals I have to go, that is 2000 kilopascals. So 2000 kilopascals here. I have to find out what is Hg, that is 2798.3. Okay, that is Hg. And Fg also I have to find out, that is 6.3390. So this is S3 and also S4. Okay, so this is the way I have to note down H3 and S3. So H3 is equal to 2799.5 and S3 is equal to 6.3409, which is also equal to S4. Okay, so we have to find out X4 is equal to S4 minus SF4 SFG4. So as I told, SF and SFG are at 10 kilopascals I have to take down. So if you see, those values are 0.6493 by 7.4996. So you will get 0.7588. So you can see that actually the wetness is very much because it is only saturated here at the exit. So it's from the starting of expansion itself, condensation starts. So there is more wetness. So it is only for problem's sake we are doing it. But just to know that if I do like this, I'm going to get a damaged turbine. So because of that, I have to go for superheat. So to understand that, I am doing this problem. So then H4 is equal to HF4 plus X4 HFG4. So H4 is 191.8 plus X4 is 0.7588 and HFG is 2392.8 and we will get to some 2007.5 kilojoule per kg. Okay, once I get H1, H2, H3, H4, then you have to find out all the works and this thing. W2 is equal to H3 minus H4, which you will get 792. And WP already we calculated H2 minus H1, which is 2. All are kilojoule per kg only, right? I'm writing fast. And QH is H3 minus H2, which is comes to 2605.7, and QL is H4 minus H1, so which is 1815.7. So W net you can find out in two ways: WT minus WC. Sorry, WP 792 minus 2, that is 790 kilojoule per kg. And even if you write as QH minus QL, you are going to get the same thing, 2605.7 minus 1815.7. You are going to get 790 only. So eta is equal to W net by QH, that is 790 by 2605.7. So which is comes to 0.303 30.3%. So even if you write 1 minus QL by QH also, you are going to get the same thing. Okay. This is the way a simple Rankine cycle can be solved. Okay, if you want to increase the efficiency, so I have to find out increase TH or decrease TL. Okay, because it is like 1 minus QL by QH. So it is not just TH, it is average temperature at which heat is added, and this is average temperature at which heat is rejected. Okay, so by for increasing the efficiency, one of these I have to do. So if I take the cycle, so I want to increase the area. So either you take this up, that is increase boiler pressure, or you can take this down or decrease the condenser pressure, or you take this up like this. Okay, so turbine inlet temperature. Okay, so actually TIT we call it as turbine inlet temperature is to be increased. So one of these three ways, it is definitely we are going to increase the efficiency. Okay, so if you take up another problem, so which include all of the three. And okay, one more thing I have to discuss. So here, if you increase the boiler pressure, what's going to happen? So previously, with lower boiler pressure, I am getting this cycle with the same turbine inlet temperature. And with increasing boiler pressure, I am getting like this. Okay, so there is an increase in the work. Okay, and but the thing is here 4-L is coming in. Okay, so that is the wetness increases. That is the main problem. The side effect can be corrected by reheating the steam. If I want to correct it, I have to either superheat to more extent, or I have to give a reheat. Okay, that is after expanding, you have another turbine, and then if you come like this, it is going to be more dry. Okay, so this is by increasing the boiler pressure. And if I see decreasing the condenser pressure, so initially, suppose this is the first cycle, and by decreasing the condenser pressure, I get like this. So because of this, I have increase in the network. But again, here also you can see initially the wetness is small, but by decreasing the condenser pressure, there is increase in the wetness. So this is also side effect. Lowering the condenser pressure increases the moisture content. So both increasing boiler pressure and decreasing the condenser pressure, both increase the efficiency, but the wetness at the exit of the turbine increase. So whenever I want to use this, I have to have more superheat. Okay. So superheating is to be used. But only again, here also, superheating advantage is the wetness decrease and there is more dry. But there is a limit. I cannot increase to whatever extent I want. And this is also like gas turbines, we have metallurgical limit. The temperature is limited by metallurgical considerations. Presently, the highest steam temperature allowed in the turbine inlet is about 620 degrees centigrade, not more than that. Okay, that is the limitation. Okay, if you see another cycle where previously 2 megapascal is the boiler pressure, now I will make it 4 megapascal. And I will have some superheat also. As I told, unless I have superheat, there will be still more wetness. Already wetness is 25% is there. It will increase further. So I use 400 degrees centigrade. And condenser pressure, it is 10 kilopascal. Usually 10 kilopascal is the limit, and we will not go further down. Okay. So usually, if I don't have a vacuum pump at the exit, it exits at atmospheric pressure only. How can I go to 10 kilopascals? Atmospheric pressure is 100 kilopascals. So I'm going to 10 kilopascals. So I have already reduced the condenser pressure to vacuum pressures. Okay, that's what you have to understand. Okay, then if you go for this problem, so I have 4 megapascal, 400 degrees centigrade, and 10 kilopascal. And so if you...
Sir?
Yes.
Sir, can you teach the open feed water and closed feed water?
Yeah. I will go to that.
I mean,
just
only less time left.
What is that? Time may not be there like that.
Yes, sir.
I will come to that. No. Okay. So this is 10 kilopascals. This is 4 megapascal. And this is 400 degrees. Okay. So this is the way we do. And procedure, everything is same. There is nothing much different. Only thing is, for 0.3, instead of saying saturated tables, I have to see the superheated tables. So that is the only difference we do. And if we do like this, okay, I'm not doing all the problem. And because H1 is 191.8 only as previous one, and H2 when you see because WP is equal to 0.00101 into 4000 minus 10. So previously it is 2 kilojoule per kg, now it is 4 kilojoule per kg. So 191.8 plus 4, 195.8 will come. And H3, that is in the superheated tables for 4 megapascal and 400 degrees centigrade. So you will get 3213.6, and S3 you will get 6.769. So once you get that, this is S4, and X4 you will have same values as SF4 and SFG4. So 6.769 minus 0.6493 by 7.499. So you'll get 0.8159. So you can see that there is, though there is increase in the boiler pressure, previously it is 0.75. So it should actually decrease to 0.65 or something. But because of the superheat, it is coming to 81% dryness. And so H4 you can find out, it comes to 2144. And so you find out all the W turbine net and everything, and the efficiency, if you calculate, you will get some 0.353 or 35.3%. So the previous problem we got 30.3%. So this is increased to 35.3%. 5% increase in steam power plant efficiency is too high. Okay, this is so achievement, so big achievement. Okay, and so as I told, still this 0.8159 is having problem, right? I don't want so much of wetness. So because of that, we go for what is called as reheat. So in reheating, what we do is, so when we have this, so instead of directly going down up to some extent, it will expand in the first turbine. I will have again reheating, and I'll go like this. Okay.
Sir, one doubt.
Yes.
Sir, the first expansion will be
It need not be saturated. It may not be saturated. It can be superheated also. So I cannot
like
say exactly. So
always it is preferred to be superheated, or it can be saturated also.
It can be saturated. It should not have wetness of 5%. That's all. Whether first turbine or second turbine.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So sometimes it will be superheated. Sometimes it will be saturated, or it may be a small wetness may be there, right? So we don't know depending on our design. So it, because either here or here, it should not be more than 5%. Okay. So here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. And if you see here, boiler. So I will have first turbine, and then I will have reheat, and then I will have second turbine, and then I will have condenser. So that this count boiler, turbine 1, turbine 2, and these run the generator. Right? So I can put 1 here, 2 here, 3 here, 4 here, 5 here, and 6 here, like this. Okay, so this is the way we do. And so here what I have to get is usually 3 and 5, if it is not given, usually they will have the same temperatures, because I can reheat up to that temperature. That is the metallurgical limit. Or if it is given, it may be less than that based on how much output I want. Okay, so I can reduce the reheat, but the maximum position I can go up to T3. Okay, so so P will be given P1 or PB or P condenser, and the P intermediate pressure also you will be given. So this data is to be given, and this reheating temperature also is to be given. T3 should be given, and T5 should be given. Okay, so this is the way we solve the problem. So how we do 1 and 2 in the same way, because I know both the pressures here. So again, V1 into P2 PB minus PC, I will get this. And so this is given, okay, this temperature. So P3 and T3 will give you this H3 and S3. So from this, because I know this pressure, right? At this pressure, I have to check whether it is saturated or this inside or outside superheated. So again, find out what is H4. And because this pressure is given and this temperature is given, I can find out H5. Again, here, S5 you find out from the superheated tables, S5 equal to S6. So I can find out again whether it is superheated or saturated. Usually it will be saturated only. So you can find out what is X6 and H6. So like this, we have to do. Any doubts about this? So we'll see how the problem will be. Okay, and another thing is sometimes we can have what is called as supercritical Rankine cycle, right? So after compression, the combustion when you view the constant pressure line is the 2 to 3 is constant pressure line. So it is not going to the saturation curve, right? It will not cut. It just goes straight away, and from there is expansion. Okay, there are supercritical boilers are there. So when you study power plant engineering, you will study about supercritical boilers also. That is, this is the heating from 2 to 3. It is there will not be any phase change. Okay, it is just to have an idea, and because its efficiency is higher, sometimes people go for that, and because the pressures are very high, you have to be careful about the leakages and all. Okay, coming to the reheat cycle. Okay, and another thing. So once you find out all the enthalpies, then WP is same, H2 minus H1. But when you take W turbine, I will have two turbines. Okay. So first turbine work, H3 minus H4, and second turbine work, H5 minus H6. And the QH, if I take, there are two heat additions. One is H3 minus H2, and another heat addition in the reheat, H5 minus H4. And the QL will be same, H6 minus H1. Okay. So again, you find out W net, either WT minus WP or QH minus QL. And efficiency, you can find out either W net by QH or 1 minus QL by QH. Whichever way you want, you can find out. Okay, so this is the thing. I have to find out all the 6 enthalpies and then find out this. Any doubt about anything to find out? Mainly here, when you find out 4 or 6, you have to check whether it is less than Sg at this pressure or greater than Sg at this pressure, right? If it is less than Sg, you have to find out the dryness fraction. That problem is there. If it is more than Sg, what I have to do is I have to see the superheated tables of this pressure, and this entropy where it is lying, it may come between two temperatures. I have to interpolate for that particular temperature. Okay, if it is at between 300 and 400, I have to see it may be 336 or something. And H also I have to interpolate. If at 300 is this much, 400 is this much, at 336, what is the enthalpy? So I have to interpolate if it is superheated. If it is saturated, I have to find out the dryness fraction and then enthalpy. Okay, that is the main thing you have to check, whether you find out H4 and H6. Any doubt about it? Okay, that is the way. One variation of the problem I will show you.
Yes? Sir, could you please repeat?
Okay. See, here I got H3 and S3, right? At the P3 and T3. So S3 is equal to S4. So I got P4 and S4, okay, at point 4. Now I want to check whether the condition is two-phase or single-phase superheated. Okay, so at P4 in the saturated tables, we find out Sg. If your entropy is more than this, that is superheated. If S4 is less than Sg this side, so then it is between Sf and Sg, so it is two-phase. Is that clear? So if S4 is between Sf and Sg, then you find out X4 and H4. If S4 is greater than Sg, then in the pressure table, right, it is suppose 1.2 megapascal. So you will have temperature, enthalpy, entropy. Okay. So your entropy, you check where it is lying. So maybe it is some 7.65, and I may have some say 6.73 and 7.8 like that at 300 degrees centigrade and 500 degrees centigrade. Suppose like this. So at 300 it is 6.73, at 500 it is 7.8, then 7.65. What is the temperature I have to find out? So I have to interpolate. It may come to some 470 or something. Then you find out if enthalpy at 300 is this and 500 is this, at 470 what is the enthalpy? So again, that linear interpolation I have to do. That is the way I have to find out enthalpy here. Is that clear? If S4 is more than SG, I have to do this. If S4 is between SF and SG, I have to find out just like previous problem, X4 and H4 I have to find out. So both at this point and also this point, also same procedure we have to do. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank
Yes,
you,
sir.
sir.
Okay, then we'll go for feed heating, right? Open feed water heater. Okay, I told you there is one more variation in the problem you may get. Okay, just if I want to trouble you, Rankine cycle with reheating. It is a simple problem. Consider a reheat cycle which enters the turbine at 4 megapascal, 400 degrees centigrade as previous problem only. After expansion in the turbine to 400 kilopascal, the steam is reheated to 400 degrees centigrade and then expanded to the lower pressure turbine. Just like what I have explained, you have to do that way. Okay. First pressure is given 4 megapascal and condenser pressure is given 10 kilopascal and the intermediate pressure is 400 kilopascals. Okay. So I have to do the problem. And there is another variation you may get like this. Steam enters the high pressure turbine at 15 megapascal, 600 degrees centigrade, and is condensed in the condenser at 10 kilopascal. If the moisture content of the steam at the exit of the low pressure turbine is not to exceed 10.4% with reheat to 600 degrees centigrade, determine the pressure at which the steam is to be reheated. Okay, so this X6 is given. X6 is 10.4%. Not X6, 1 minus X6 is 10.4%. 89.6 is given. So 0.896 is X6. So based on that, I have to find out what is the intermediate pressure. That is P5 I have to find out. Is that clear? So we will see how to just, if I draw the figure. I will.
Sir, please explain.
Yeah. This is 15 megapascal. Okay. So H1, H2 as usual we find out, and this can be found out, no problem. And here X6 is given. Okay, so how to go about this now? I have to find out this pressure of this line.
Find entropy at 6.
Yeah, so X6 is given. So S6, SF and SFG at P1 I can find out. So I can find out S6 is equal to SF6 plus X6 SFG6. So S6. So S6 is equal to S5. S6 is equal to S5. And I know this temperature. Okay, I know T5 and S5. Okay, I have to find out what is P5. How to do it?
By manipulating table.
So I have to see the superheated tables, find out at 600 degrees centigrade. Okay, I will just see what is the value that is.
Match the entropy.
Yeah, match the entropy. And okay, suppose S5 is 7.37. Okay, S5 is equal to 7.37, and T5 is 600 degrees centigrade. So I have to see 600 degrees centigrade in the tables, because I don't have tables at a particular temperature. I have particular pressure only I have. Okay, so at 600 here, at this particular pressure, I have this much, and I have to go like this and see the temperature at 1 megapascal, 600 degrees centigrade, it is 8.03. And here it is 7.94. And my value is 7.37. So I have to come down further. 7.6, 600 degrees centigrade, 7.7. 600, 7.4, and 7.3. 7.37. Actually, it is exactly matching, right? But it may not be like this. It may be between this and this. Suppose 7.35. Suppose. So at 4.5 megapascal, I have 7.31. At 4 megapascal, it is 7.37. If it is 7.35, what is the exact pressure? I have to interpolate. So in that way, once you get the megapascals, maybe 4.37. Okay, then I have to see what is the enthalpy at this pressure, at enthalpy at this pressure, and again at 4.37 megapascal, what is that I have to interpolate. So like that, I have to find out what is the pressure. Is that clear? Pressure and enthalpy, I have to find that way. So once I get the intermediate pressure, remaining problem is same as we have done in the previous one. So that is the variation I can give, right? If I want to trouble you, I will go in a reverse way. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
And then I will go for feed heating.
Sorry.
Okay, another thing, it is given that reheating, if I can, because reheating increases the efficiency if you want to increase number of reheats like that. So what happens actually, number of reheats and turbines, if I give, it comes like this. Because of this, actually the average temperature at which heat is added is increased. So there is increase in the efficiency, but normally we will not use too many reheats. So the use of more than 2 reheat stages is not practical. The theoretical improvement in efficiency from the second reheat is about half only, and third reheat will be only 1/4 of the maximum cycle pressure. Okay, so we will not go for too many reheats. Maximum 2 reheats is practical. Okay, regenerative Rankine cycle. So here what we do is, again, I want to increase the average temperature at which heat is added. And if you see here, this temperature is here and this temperature is here. Because of this, the average temperature coming low. If I can heat it in some other manner, so and heat addition will be only from 2 to 3 here, which is quite high compared to this particular one. So this particular one, I want to heat by using steam that is extracted during the expansion. Okay, so that's what we are going to do. Is that clear? The concept is clear. I want to increase the average temperature at which heat is added. Okay, so this is going from 2-3 like this. So the average temperature will be low because of that. If I can heat it by some other means, and in the boiler, if I just heat from 2-3, so the average temperature at which heat is added is increased and the efficiency increase. And this is not in the boiler. So what I do is, I take some heat from during expansion itself. I have number of turbines, suppose, and after 1 or 2 turbines, I take some of the steam and I heat the feed water till it reaches this point. Okay, so this I want to avoid. So that is done. Okay, the figure gets modified like this. Okay, so this is the way. Here what I do is, from the boiler, it goes to the turbine, and I have a number of stages, and in between, I tap some of the steam, and I send it here. And from the condenser, because here there is some higher pressure will be there, and in the condenser, I increase this water pressure up to that intermediate pressure, and I combine these two. This is open feed water heater, means direct mixing will be there. Like heat exchangers, there are different types, direct mixing and indirect heat transfer. If I mix both of them, it is open feed water heater. Sometimes hot water in one tubes and cold water, the hot steam is in one tubes and cold water in some other tubes. And then there will not be any mixing. That is called as closed feed water heater. Okay, so that we will not worry about now. Open feed water heater. So this steam and this water gets mixed up. Here it is like this. Okay, from the condenser, it comes this way. It is compressed in the pump up to intermediate pressure, where this is expanded up to that particular pressure. This is same pressure line. Okay, so this steam at 6 and this water at 2, they mix together and come out at state 3. Okay, so this steam at state 6 and water at state 2, they combine and they come out as saturated steam, saturated water at 3. Okay, it comes like this. And this is at intermediate pressure. So I should have one more pump to increase to the boiler pressure. Okay, so this is the way the cycle will be. Is this clear?
Sir, want to explain about closed feed water?
Closed feed water heater, actually this is like this, and sorry, this is open feed water. Yeah. So in the closed feed water heater, the steam is coming like this, isn't it? And the water is going this way. They don't get mixed. They won't get mixed. And so this steam, it gets condensed here, right? Because it is giving heat to the water and it comes at high temperature. And these two get mixed here, mixing chamber. There will not be any pump. That is the main thing here. So the thing is, here there will not be pump, but the heat transfer is not efficient because they are direct mixing. The complete heat is immediately transferred. So here, if you want to have good heat transfer between the steam and the water, it should be a very large heat exchanger. And when there is large heat exchanger, lot of piping are there, there will be pressure loss will be there. Okay, those problems will be there. But okay, that is the main thing. Is it clear? Here, there is no direct mixing. Closed feed water heater means both are closed. They are not directly mixed. Heat is transferred from extracted steam to the feed water without any mixing takes place. The two streams now be at different pressures since they do not mix. Okay, they can be at two different pressures. So, but previously, because there is direct mixing, both of them should be at the same pressure. So that's why whatever pressure is there when I extract the steam, this water also should be at the same pressure. So I should have two pumps here, but there will be only a single pump. Okay, that is the main difference. Okay, so we will see how to solve a problem of open feed water heater.
Sir, explain derivation process, sir.
Which one?
For closed feedback.
Just you have to make the heat balance, right? Here heat balance. So whatever steam is extracted here, so suppose m dot s is the steam, right? And m dot s into H3, H7 minus H3, that is heat lost by steam. Okay, and this is water, that is m dot w if I take. So m dot w, it is entering at H2 and coming out at H9. So m dot W into H9 minus H2. So I will be knowing H2, this one is already known, and H9 I can find out. H7 also I know this, and so I have to make the heat balance and I find out. Then
Sir, how to find H5?
H5. Okay, here, so this and this are getting mixed, right? So this is coming with H9 and this is coming with H4 and it is coming out with H5. So everything is like heat balance only. The total enthalpy entering in is equal to total enthalpy coming out. You have to know the mass flows. Okay, whatever mass is coming in, into its enthalpy, whatever mass is entering into its enthalpy is equal to the total mass coming out into this enthalpy. So if I know these two enthalpies, I can find out this enthalpy. Is that clear?
Sir, does pump work include 4-3 pulse also, sir?
What's that?
Does pump work include process from 3 to 4 also?
Pump work is 3 to 4. Pump work here, this is 1 to 2 and this is 3 to 4. Actually here I have two feed water heaters. This is closed and this is open. There are number of types of things will be there. Actually, if I go to this, there are 3 closed feed water heaters and 1 open feed water heater. Like that, I can have different configurations. Okay, everywhere I have to make the heat balance. Everywhere, whatever mass is entering, either water or steam, into change in its enthalpy is equal to, because heat is given by one and taken by the other, I have to make the heat balance at every for every feed water heater.
Sir,
Yes.
T3 should be equal to T9, right?
No. Why? See, this is coming like this, and this is going like this. Okay. So
In case of perfect heat exchanging, both should be in thermal equilibrium.
T7 minus T3 is equal to T9 minus T2 if masses are same, or both are water, suppose. But here it is not like that. Is it clear? See, the heat given is equal to heat taken, that's all. So here, this is gaining heat, this is losing heat. So its temperature rise, its temperature decrease.
Okay, sir.
Is it okay? Okay. Okay. I understood whatever you are asking. If it is perfect heat exchanger, this T9 can come to up to 3. That's what you are telling, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So it may come like that. But we have to see whether it works or not. Because the mass flows are different. And that is possible only if there is complete heat exchange. Complete heat exchange is never possible in the closed feed water heater because it is going in different pipings. Complete heat exchange is not possible. Okay. And open feed water heater, you know how to solve the problem? I will just talk about that. Okay, because here I have to find out how much mass is to be extracted here. So that is one of the main thing I have to go about. See here. Okay, this is the open feed water problem. And 1 to 2 is the first pump. And this is heated in the open feed water heater from 2 to 3. And 3 to 4 in the second pump. And then 4 to 5 it is heated. And 5 to 6 in the up to first some stages of the turbine. And mass is extracted here. So how much mass is to be extracted, I have to find out. And the remaining mass is expanded here. Okay, it's just it is not written here properly. I will just show how to do it. So if I extract a fraction of mass x, right? Suppose 1 kg is going like this, and a fraction of mass it is going on x here. So here 1 minus x will come in the remaining one. Okay. So here in the open feed water heater, it is steam is coming from here, that is x mass with enthalpy H6, and water is coming from this side. This is 1 minus x, and it is entering with H2, and both of them combine and it come out as saturated, that is total mass is combined, it is 1 into H3. Okay, so this is the way it will be. So whatever heat entering is equal to x H6 plus 1 minus x H2 is equal to H3. And I have to find out what is x. So x, if you see, x is equal to H3, and H2, if I take that side, H3 minus H2. If x, if you take common, H6 minus H2. You will get like this. Okay, so find out 1, you can find out straight. Okay, so finding the pump work, I can find out H2, and 3 also, yeah, because I know the intermediate pressure, 3 I can find out. Again, from the second pump work, I can find out H4, and H5 is straight because I know the pressure and temperature, H5. And again, because S5 is equal to S6 is equal to S7. So because I know the pressures here, again, you check whether it is superheated or saturated, and then you can find out H6 and H7. Like that, I can find out all the enthalpies. Okay, so once I know all the enthalpies, then I have to use this relation to find out what is the mass that is extracted or taken from during the expansion. Once I do that, then I have to write the expressions. Okay, suppose if I take W turbine from 5 to 6, I know H5 minus H6, and the total mass is going right to the first stages, and in the remaining mass is going, the enthalpy drop is 6 to 7. Okay, so that is 1 minus x into H6 minus H7. This is the turbine work. If I see the pump work is equal to, and H2 minus H1, how much it is going into this 1 minus x. And the second pump is H3 minus H4, and total mass is entering there because both are combined. X, and this is 1 minus x, this is x combined, it is 1, it is going. So this is pump work. And so QH and QH,
Sir.
Yes.
Sir, pump work is H4 minus H3, no, sir.
Which one?
Sir,
Pump work is H2 minus H1 into 1 minus x.
next
Plus,
one.
sorry, H4 minus H3. Sorry, thank you. H4 minus H. I have to get it positive. Okay, thank you. And QH is H5 minus H4, and QL, if I want to take, it is H7 minus H1, but the mass that is going into this is 1 minus x. Okay, so that is QL. So in this way, we have to find out the efficiency. Only thing is, this x is to be found out, and for each turbine and pump, how much mass is going through that I have to know. Okay, so this is the way I have to solve the problem of open feed water heater. Usually, closed feed water heaters, there may not be problem given unless somebody wants to trouble you, right? So in power plant engineering, we discuss in detail, but at this level, many times we don't solve problems of closed feed water heaters. So open feed water heaters, you can see problems in all the textbooks. For steam turbine portion and nozzle portion, okay, the Rankine cycle you can get from any thermodynamics. Okay, and for nozzles and steam turbines, that is impulse turbine, reaction turbine, and impulse reaction, all those things. These things you have to see any thermal engineering book. But okay, vapor cycles you can get from any thermodynamics book. Even Sengel, Borgnake, and we can add all these mix. But you won't see much problems with the closed feed water heater. Maybe 1 or 2 problems you may get somewhere. But open feed water heater, there will be problems with multiple feed water heaters also. That is, I can have multiple open feed water heaters. Like this. So here some x1 is extracted, here some x2 is extracted. So if I take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 like this. Okay. So here 1 will go, and here 1 minus x1 will go, and here 1 minus x1 minus x2 will go. So here 1 minus x1 minus x2. So like this. So when you take the turbine work, H7 minus H8 plus 1 minus x1 into H8 minus H9 plus 1 minus x1 minus x2 into H9 minus H10. Like this, the pump comes 1 minus x1 into minus x2 into H2 minus H1, and x2 into H4 minus H3, and x4 x1 into H6 minus H5. Like that, I have to find out. Okay. So whatever be the number of feed water heaters, it doesn't matter. Again, if I want to find out what is x1, so this is coming out here like this. X1 is coming with H8, and here what is going? This is 1 minus x1. This is 1 minus x1 minus x2. So what is going this way? What is going this way? What is coming out of this way? You have to find out. This is 1 minus x1. Okay. So here 1 minus x1 minus x2 is going from this side, so into H2, and this side it is coming, 1 minus x1 is coming, so 1 minus x1 into H9 is equal to whatever is coming out is 1 minus x1 into H3. Like that, I have to do, I find out what is x2. First I have to find out x1 using the balance here, and then using that x1 I have to find out x2 here. Is that clear? I have to do the balance, heat balance here, and in this heat balance, that is in this feed water heater, I have to find out what is x1 to be extracted. In this, I have to find out what is x2 is to be extracted to get this as saturated 3 and 5. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
So it doesn't matter whatever be the number of feed water heaters, you can solve the problem. Only you are to be given is the intermediate pressures are to be given as the data. So you can find out what is to be extracted from each. And finding out enthalpies is straightforward. Okay. So 1 from the pump work 2, and 3 is straight, and 3 from the second pump 4, and 5 is straight, and from the third pump 6, and 7 is straight. So again, using the entropy isentropic process, I can find out what is H8, H9, H10. Okay. So it will not be straight actually. If it is superheated, it goes like this. Okay. I think this by this understanding, you can solve any problem. Any doubts you can ask.
Sir, want to tell about pressure losses?
Which one? Okay, the practical cycles. Huh? If you want to have practical cycles, this is somewhat practical cycle. We can have pressure loss in the boiler, okay, and there can be pressure loss in the condenser, and there is pump efficiency and turbine efficiency like this. So if you have such thing, you will be given actually whatever problem you got in the mid exam, okay, like that for every component you will be given what are the inlet conditions and exit conditions. So you have to find the enthalpy before entering and after leaving it, and based on that you have to find out all the works and do you remember the problem that is given in the
that means we do not need to subtract any terms like that for pressures.
No, for everything there will be given Either pressure loss is this much like that, so you will be given, you have to subtract it, or you will be given what is the inlet pressure and the exit pressure.
Okay.
It's not like Bratton
Bratton.
cycle. It's not like delta PCC, delta PHA, such thing will not be there.
Okay.
Right? You will be given the conditions at the entry and the exit of each component, and you have to use the tables and find out the enthalpies. Okay. Only thing is this pump efficiency and turbine efficiency, if they are given, you have to find out first what is isentropic thing, and then you have to use the efficiency and find out what is the actual enthalpy at the exit. Is it okay? Because isentropic already you found out, right? H2S and H1. And so using the pump work, the pump efficiency, you can find out what is H2A. So like that you can do. Is it okay?
Sir, when we find out net work output and Q in, I mean, will the values will be accepted if there is 1 kilojoule difference like that, or it should be exactly same?
No, whatever. See, H3 already you have. H2A you are going to find out using the pump efficiency. So H3 minus H2A you have to take.
I mean, in different stream tables, like 1 kilojoule difference is given. Will it be accepted like that?
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
I mean, we are not getting the exact same answer. 1 to kilojoules is differing.
Okay. So usually, whenever you use tables or charts, some tolerance will be accepted. No problem. You need not get exact result.
Okay.
Right? Anything? Okay, then.
Sir, binary cycles.
Yes, binary cycles you need not study, I think. Binary cycles and mainly more than that, the important thing is combined cycle. Okay. Have you heard about combined cycle?
Yes, sir.
So both are similar. Binary cycle and combined cycle are similar. Only thing is, in the combined cycle, I have gas turbine cycle, and bottom cycle will be Rankine cycle, two-phase cycle. But in the binary cycle, all cycles are two-phase cycles only, topping cycle and bottoming cycle. Is that clear? I don't know whether. Yeah, this is combined cycle. Combined cycle, you will have gas turbine cycle and the steam turbine cycle. Because as I told in the gas turbine discussion, the exit temperatures of gas turbine are very high, right? We are going to lose heat. There are two ways of using the heat. So one is called cogeneration. If you use that heat for use some other purpose in the industry, that is called cogeneration. But if you use that heat to produce steam and run the steam turbine, so that is combined cycle. It is not. It is like this. So Brayton cycle is in this way, and so this is coming out with H8, right? The heat, and it is going out to the atmosphere, right? So if I have a heat exchanger where gases enter from this side and coming out this way, and water enters this way and gets heated this way. So it is gets heated up to 3. So it is a counterflow heat exchanger. So the steam gets heated up to 3, and we run this. So this is what is called as waste heat recovery boiler. This is like a boiler only, right? So waste heat is recovered from the gas turbine to produce steam. So I can solve this cycle separately, this cycle separately. And I will get some output here, some output here. For the same input, the input is H7 minus H6. Right? And output will be gas turbine output plus steam turbine output, and I will get the efficiency more. We get up to 55% efficiency by having combined cycle. And you have seen that with the steam cycle, it is only 33% like that. And even gas turbine also will be around 25-30% only. And if I have both of them combined together, you are going to have 55% of efficiency. And so This topping cycle also, if I have another two-phase diagram here and like this, and whatever heat rejected from the topping cycle is utilized in the bottom cycle as a boiler, then that is called binary cycle. Is that clear? So I will have like this. So this heat that is rejected from the first cycle, it is used as the QH for this cycle. And this is one liquid will be there, one fluid will be there. Here there is some other fluid. Based on the properties and characteristics, we choose which fluid is suitable for this range of temperatures and pressures, and which fluid is useful for this range of temperatures and pressures. Am I clear? So solving of the problem is similar, right? Only QH here, from here I have to take here, and I have to use that as the QL from the first cycle is used as QH for the second cycle. Yes, somebody is asking something.
Sir, can you say this as couple cycle?
No. It is called binary cycle only. I don't know. Maybe in some other books they may use, but usually this is binary cycle. And the gas turbine and steam turbine together, that is combined cycle. And combined cycle is a special case of cogeneration. As I told, the cogeneration. So cogeneration is something like, we call it as process heating. So whatever heat I am going to get, some part of it can be used to run the turbine, and some part of it is some process purpose, like drying of a cloth, drying of papers, or heating of some chemicals in chemical industries and all. We use heat for various purposes. So we have to see how much heat is utilized there, how much heat is utilized here, and then I have to find out the efficiency. It is something like this. Net power output plus process heat delivered by total heat input is the efficiency of cogeneration. And when you have combined cycle, I will have W of steam turbine, W of gas turbine by heat input. That gives me the efficiency of a combined cycle. Okay, like that. Because only one input will be there. Is it okay?
Sir, can we continue after 1 hour? We are having another class now.
Okay, I don't think anything is to be continued. That's why if anything is there.
Sir, please send this PPT now.
Yeah. I will send. Okay. And the problems I didn't solve it. I have taken from the books only. Senjal or Gordonake or PK Nag. Okay. So the problem solving solution I have not given there. Whatever I have done in the board, I can just, if you want, I add there, because the complete values I have not written, right? But the procedure only I have given. Is it okay? So we'll quickly have the story and go. Okay. A small story, it's a good thing. A jobless man applied for the position of office boy at Microsoft. The HR manager interviewed him, then gave him a test, clean the floor. The man passed the test with flying colors. You are hired, HR manager informed the applicant. Give me your email address and I will send you the application for employment, as well as the date you should report to work. The man replied, I don't have a computer, sir, or an email. I'm sorry, said the HR manager. If you don't have an email, that means you do not exist. And we cannot hire person who do not exist. So he didn't know what to do. He only had $10 with him. Once that is spent, he won't have any money to buy any food. He went to the supermarket and bought a crate of tomatoes with his $10. He went from door to door and sold the tomatoes in less than 2 hours, and he doubled his money. He repeated the operation 3 times and returned home with $60. He realized that he can survive this way. He started to go every day earlier and return late. He doubled or tripled money every day. Soon, he bought a cart, then a truck, and in very short time, he had his own fleet of delivery vehicles. And 5 years later, the man became one of the biggest food retailers in the US, and he started to plan his family's future and decided to have a life insurance. He called the insurance broker and chose a protection plan. At the end of the conversation, the broker asked him for his email address. The man replied, "I don't have an email." The broker was dumbfounded. "You don't have an email, and yet you have succeeded in building an empire. Can you imagine what you could have been if you had an email?" He exclaimed. The man thought for a while and replied, "An office boy at Microsoft." That's it. If you just lost your job or just failed an interview, don't worry, be optimistic. Good days are on the way and something better is reserved for you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, good luck. And anybody having any other doubts or anything, you can always contact me. I don't think there is another class needed for ranking cycle. Right? So anybody who wants, you can always contact me and we can discuss. Okay, see you, all the best. Good luck. For today.
For today. Yeah,